Oh boy, everybody, it is time for another episode of Second Cup. But this isn't just any episode of Second Cup. This is the first episode of Season 2, baby. And because it's the first episode of Season 2, we have something special for you all, which is a twofer. We have two guests for this episode, and they are Emily Rezkalla and Mark Zides. Emily is a rising career and confidence coach from the gorgeous Vancouver, Canada, who, after receiving a job offer from almost every interview that she's completed, turned to social media to start sharing her stories and has since racked up an impressive over 130,000 followers on TikTok. Mark is an author, CEO, serial entrepreneur, and career coach based near Boston, Massachusetts. After building an impressive career for himself, he has turned to helping others build their own. Recently, he authored the best-selling book, The #Pace Process Guide to Early Career Success, and has recently turned it into a course that you can take online through Teachable. Now it's time to top off your beverage, get comfy, and enjoy this episode of Second Cup with my friends Mark Zides and Emily Rezkalla. Alrighty. Oh boy, y'all, I am admittedly a little anxious about this just because this is my first time back in the saddle after a short hiatus of conversations. So, Emily Rezkalla and Mark Zides, thank you so much for joining me on the very first episode of the second season of Second Cup.
Thanks.
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate you having me. Sorry,
Yeah.
Emily. I promise I'm not going to talk over you the whole time.
Yeah. It's a dance. It's really a dance. Yeah. Thank you, Tim, for having us.
Yeah, of course. And we can interrupt each other, but it's weird, right? Doing all of this through Zoom. So it's going to happen. Well, y'all, I'm so excited that you're going to be on this episode. Just we've got so many cool things to talk about. Mark, you and I have known each other for a little bit. Emily, we've known each other very briefly. To kick everything off, I'd love to get just like a quick sip, I guess, on who each of you are. Emily, if you want to kick us off here.
Sure. So, my story is basically, the classic undergrad who was very analytical and very grades focused. And I've slowly transitioned into uh, a very dynamic work experience and background because of my skill set. And now I've kind of leaned into the creative side of things and brought my expertise to social media when it comes to career and interview prep. And so, that being said, my background ranges from, policy, consulting, HR, accounting, IT. It's diverse, but I would say my toolkit is fulsome and but not full yet. I'm just looking excited. I'm excited for, talking more about that, and that's me. I'm been doing career and interview prep coaching for a little over a year now for a wide range of demographics and age groups, and it's been fun. And yeah, and that's how I met Mark.
Nice. And you're based in Vancouver, right? Just got back from a little snowboarding vacation.
Yeah, so yeah, a little bit about me outside of all that work stuff. I really love to be outdoorsy. I love snowboarding, hiking, golf, longboarding, spin. Yeah, it's I'm in the right place for all those things. I'm from Toronto. Yeah.
That's awesome. Awesome. And Mr. Mark Zides.
Yeah, I don't know if I can top that one, but I've been in the sort of the marketing, business development, entrepreneurial world for my whole career, and I've started and sold a few companies. Learned a lot along the way, both good and challenging. And almost a year ago, I wrote a book that was really focused on career preparation, job search, and I wanted to kind of pack all my knowledge of doing this talent management, leadership, learning, consulting over the last, almost 25 years plus into a book that would help Gen Zs, younger generation, millennials and Gen Zs kind of prepare for the workforce. So with, this virtual interviewing and kind of trying to find a job in a much different way, wrote the book. It was a bestseller, humbly stated.
Congratulations.
And, humble brag.
Yeah, you can humble brag.
I should say humble brag. And since then, working with you, put together a teachable course, which I'm hoping that, I'll be able to, market to this new workforce that's kind of coming up, which Emily, is appealing to based on her incredible TikToks. That's how I get to know Emily. I started to TikTok myself, and I'm not very good at it, and I have to get better. And I found Emily. I'm like, wow, if I could model myself after her genre or her approach or her sort of pitch, it would be cool. And then we kind of started chatting, and here we are. So I think we both bring a lot to the table. I kind of bring that old, kind of coach mentality, the Gen Xer, and Emily is the, millennial Gen Zer that can bring the real advice on, how to prepare for an interview or how to prepare for a career change, things like that. So I think it's a great market, looking to give back to this younger generation, and appreciate the opportunity to kind of share your platform
Yeah,
today.
absolutely. And so let's kick it off right away with social media, right? Because I admire both of you for different reasons with social media. Mark, for just jumping in and committing to it with your pace process course and your book, and just, I mean, you're posting consistently, and texting me about different ideas almost on a daily basis, which is awesome. And it's something I think is so admirable, because there's so many other people that I've worked with in the past, and Emily, I'm sure you've had a similar, or you may have a similar experience of Gen Xers or boomers too, that are really resistant and don't want to even get their hands dirty on that. And Mark, you've really just jumped in the deep end, and it seems like you're having fun with it. And then Emily, with your crazy following you have on TikTok, yeah, I'd love to kick things off with like how you've navigated kind of going viral, managing that audience, nurturing that audience, and where you see yourself going next with all of that.
Yeah, what a great question. Full of my mind's kind of buzzing. When I first started, which on TikTok, which by the way, before I went on TikTok, it did not own real estate on my phone. I was completing my master's degree. I knew if I downloaded it, it would be a disaster for my degree. Who knows, I might still be in it trying to finish it. So it did not own real estate on my phone. And then I graduated, and about 6 months later, after, still working, I got a job through that. I was helping a lot of my friends with their interviews, and I had a friend tell me, you should really like start coaching and helping people. And they said that because they asked me, "How's life? How are you doing?" I'm like, "It's okay. It's slow. I'm working." And they're like, "That's not normal for you. You're always doing 5 million things and overcommitted in yourself." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're right." So, it's a symptom of my friends pointing out my opportunist but fault part of me where I'm overcommitting. But I started doing that, and I have a lot of friends who inspire me in the entertainment field who do like acting and comedy, and who took it to TikTok and were a prime example for me, to see that it's actually tangible and feasible to validate that you're actually appealing to someone and that what you're saying actually works. And that's really what I did it for, was kind of like market validation. It's like, am
Mm-hmm.
I doing this right? Is it just my small circle that it's been working for? So I did that. One video got viral, and it was the one about tone of voice,
Ooh,
which I'm
okay.
sure you know lots about of. Um, yeah, you're probably more of an expert than I am, but I had my small tidbit on tone and the whole customer service voice and how to avoid it. So that's what happened. I get a lot of positive feedback, and I started my coaching business from that. But amongst all of that, in this past year, I've been keeping up with it with my full-time job, and probably the main struggle I've dealt with in social media is um, people looking at me and my age and thinking that I don't have sound advice for the, workplace and the career space, simply because of how I look. And a lot of people assume I'm in my early 20s or still in school, which is fine. And I actually think that is a little bit closed-minded, considering, you know, I think we can learn a lot from people who are probably still in undergrad. I'm out of
Mm-hmm.
touch now from that part. So, uh, yeah, it's been a wild ride for this past year.
Yeah, and congrats on all the success on TikTok and growing your business on the side with everything too. With on top of having like a full time like real person job too. It's insane. It's that's really cool. And what you said about people being closed minded about your age or your appearance, I'd like to turn it over to Mark too in terms of like because Mark, you're not an old person, regardless of how many times you say that when we were building your course out together. You're not, but it's a different generation, and I'd love to hear your perspective on how you've approached TikTok and what your experience has been on social media as you have just put yourself out there. What has that been like for your business, and what have you learned so far, and what do you feel like you have to offer?
Yeah, so I think TikTok offers such a broad array of genres or avatars or audience, people, and I don't think you want to necessarily pigeonhole Emily yourself into, your age or your experience, given, the people that consume your content, right? So there's people of all different backgrounds that are on TikTok and successful, whether it's a dance, whether it's, you know, being self-deprecating, whether it's comedy skit, whatever it is, right? Or these experts that are giving advice, right? So you and I are quote unquote experts giving advice. I haven't had my viral moment yet, so maybe I can get some of your luck to rub off on me to
You've
kind of
had
get
a
my
video
viral
that hit
video out
like
there.
40 almost 40,000 views, and I saw somebody break this down on TikTok yesterday that like 40,000 views is what, twice what the Staples Center is. And that kind of blew my mind,
Oh, interesting.
reframing that like, oh, I didn't hit a million, but it's a million is a lot, but even
Right.
10,000 is a sold out concert somewhere. But anyway,
Yeah,
sorry,
good point. Good
not
point.
to
Yeah.
interrupt, but to interrupt. But
No, no, no. Yeah. So I think, what people want to see again, and I know Emily's on TikTok, on Instagram Reels, and I'm trying to do a little bit of, video work there with your coaching there as well. But I think the TikTok platform allows people to be super creative, right? Whether it's, just their own voice or their own authentic self, but it also allows you to kind of, get into the trends, whether it's music trends or dance trends or things like that, to sort of, you know, hashtag also whatever is kind of viral or trending at the moment, right? So it's kind of a fun platform like that. I frankly, there's been really successful people on there that have figured out how to monetize themselves on TikTok. I'm not quite there yet. I'm, just like you said, dipping my toe in the water. I've been doing it for a couple of months, and I want to learn from people from like Emily, because I asked my kids, they're all Gen Zers. I'm like, who would you rather watch on TikTok? They're like, oh, someone like Emily. Like, Dad, I don't think you're that good. I'm like, I'll get there. I'll
yes,
prove it to you guys,
yet.
right? But that said, they can relate to people like Emily because she's in their same circle or the same sort of, they don't want to necessarily, the way I look at career development or job, you know, laddering, kind of, okay, what's the next step of my career? Yeah, sure. It's great to look at a CEO or somebody older and say, yeah, I want to be like that when I'm 20 years from now. I think they want to say, where can I be in 3 to 5 years? Well, guess what? That's Emily. Like, so what advice could I get from somebody in that sort of, it's not the ecosystem, but sort of that circle, and learn from them, right? Because that's more realistic. If I were coaching a kid, I'd say, find a mentor, find somebody that you respect, you like, and you can
Yeah.
learn from. And again, you can have a mentor who's a different generation, a boomer or a Gen Z, but I would advocate, or I would say, find somebody who you want to emulate and who you want to be like, right? In the workplace or even outside, right? I mean, whether it's, everyone kind of has their, the profile that they want to aspire to, right? Or I want to be like this person. That's fine. You can have those goals. But I think in the workplace or in your job or in your career, you want to find that person you can connect with. And I think that's what social media does. It allows you to connect and follow and try to model yourself after certain
Yeah,
people.
absolutely. And one thing I'd love to touch on too with social media is that in the professional world, especially separating that personal brand from your professional brand, or how to like meld the two together. And how have you approached that? And Emily, I'd love to hear your side on this as well.
You can go first, Em.
Sure. Yeah.
Take it.
Um, yeah, I'll take it. Um, I would. Honestly, I think it depends on the stage of your career personally. I know when I graduated my undergrad as well as my master's, I did a purge of my Google, search your name in Google. I know Mark talks about that. And of previous like Twitter accounts from high school, like we don't need that lingering in there. We really don't need
Or
those
do we?
reminders.
And now I think everybody wants to know what high school Emily was
No,
saying on Twitter.
It doesn't matter. It's in the past.
no. We'll leave it to Facebook memories or like Snapchat memories to give me my private
Yeah.
reminders, but public ones, we're just gonna get rid of those. So like it depends on the stage. I personally like now I'm at a point where my social media presence kind of amalgamates my professional and personal world, and I'm allowed to kind of be a little bit more vulnerable, but not necessarily, unprofessional on social media, because I've built this. I consider built this brand that's authentic, relatable, and is knowledgeable, while still I would consider humble. Like people ask me all the time if I have resume advice, and I would say I'm probably not the expert you want to talk to, because a lot of my interviews and a lot of the jobs that I've gotten into were because of networking, mentorship, like Mark mentioned, and internships from school that were set up. I was lucky, but also did a lot of like people connecting. So I wouldn't say I'm the expert with that. So I think people really appreciate that. In a perfect world, I think we should be able to bring together our professional and our personal life, because if we treat each problem separately in our professional and our personal life without the same values, let's say your values are authenticity, curiosity, creativity, empathy, whatever your values are, and you're separating those based on the different lives you're living, regardless if you're physically sitting in the same seat at home, I think it causes, like identity issues for a lot of people in their 20s. And I think that if that happens, people start, and stick with me with this analogy, but I think people start in their 20s to become mechanics and not gardeners. They're just putting out fires and they're just fixing problems as they come, but they're not able to be consistent with their values in the professional and personal world. And that, I think, slows things down, creates identity problems. And yeah, I would love if, employers would be okay with just allowing you to have, your personal language in a meeting sometimes, and not always having to decipher or translate something into, what you would say in an email, but you're saying it in a meeting. So that's my take.
I love that analogy. I also love mechanics and gardeners equally.
Yeah.
But it's that,
Yes.
yeah, I think that it's a beautiful image of kind of that you have one issue, it comes in, you fix it, you send it out, versus like how can we nurture this whole ecosystem that you have as a whole person. That's wow. I love that. I'm taking that with me in my pocket today as I continue on my way.
Fantastic. Awesome. Go
And
ahead, Mark. Sorry.
yeah, I would just dive in and say you should do a TikTok on imposter syndrome.
Right.
So look up like there's definitely, having done a lot of leadership development programs, high potential stuff for huge companies, that's really a topic, right? Which is like, okay, you have this different persona at work and you kind of pretend to be somebody you're not, or you think you're somebody and your boss thinks you're someone else. And so how do you separate that, like you say, from the social platform? And then how do you keep certain things private? Some people say, hey, I'm going to keep Facebook private and I'm going to keep Twitter private and I just keep private and work separate, and that's their own prerogative, right? But I think your points are all well valid, especially people in their 20s, right? I didn't grow up with social media. Like I didn't even have a phone till I was, I don't know, in my 30s, whenever the iPhone came. What is it? The iPhone's been
Since
around
like
for
2007,
20
2008,
years.
Yeah, like 15 years. Yeah.
Yeah, 15 years. Like think about that, right? Like that's insane. So like think about technology and what it's done and what it's enabled people to do, from people building their personal brands and their profiles. And what I believe is I love, watching young professionals like you gain success and building your brand through social platforms. Because everyone's, pontificated that that's the future. That's how we communicate. Everybody loves video. There's video vignettes. Everyone wants to get their information right here, right now. Headlines, videos, boom. Like that's the future, right? And our kids, or you guys don't have kids yet, but my kids have grown up on this. Like they're digital natives. They've grown up with a phone in their hand ever since they've been born. And then the next generation, the alpha generation, is going to be even, more savvy, right? So they're going to consume information and, build their opinions and their brands through social platforms. And if you're telling great stories, I love that, because you want people to follow leaders like you, because it's going to just help perpetuate, this generation into going in the right direction and not the wrong direction.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers anything. I just kind of talked up.
Doesn't matter. It was valuable. I loved it. I thought it was great. And I think that, with the generational or the generations that we have in the workplace right now, right? With Gen X, Millennial, Gen Z, and then the alpha generations coming up, I think each one brings its own unique, really, really valuable perspective to things. Like Mark, with the PACE process that you put together, that brings all the like quote unquote old school stuff into a really approachable and applicable way to approach the job market today and as it continues to change, which I feel like it's a really great evergreen piece of content. We'll call it a piece of content, even though it's like millions of little pieces of content all put together. But I've heard some people say that millennials are kind of that bridge between Gen X and Gen Z, of like, we grew up mostly outside, but then we also had like our teen years, we were slowly introduced to the iPhone and the iPad and all of that. And so it's an interesting place to be, because I'm like, oh yeah, I love TikTok, but I'm not great at it, or I'm like, I'm not like crushing on Fortnite or anything like that. But it's
we were the guinea pigs. We were the guinea pigs for all that tech. We're helping Gen Alpha get like the prime quality tech.
You're
welcome.
First child, yes. So speaking of the PACE process, Mark, I'd love to hear what your process has been with building this. You're coming up with the idea to write the book and coming up with the idea of the PACE process, and how your experience as an entrepreneur has led you to where you are now.
Yeah, thanks. I'll try to keep this short and sweet, because I haven't figured out the elevator pitch on that that question yet. But it's really, a lot of my information, feedback, knowledge I've learned or gained over the last, 25 plus years, 30 years, working with large companies, growing companies, startups that, have always tried to hire great talent, right? They want to hire great talent, find great people. They want to, once they hire them, they want to develop them. They want to retain them. That's a business challenge that's never going to go away. And what I was hearing is that this younger generation, when they were getting into the workforce, so they were trying to get jobs, just weren't prepared. They didn't have the social skills or the business skills to be successful. And, some examples of that is, they didn't know how to manage conflict, or they weren't good at receiving feedback. Or they weren't prepared when we went into an interview. That's why when I met Emily, I'm like, she's got the greatest tips ever when you want to go into an interview. And the interview game changed. It used to be, I used to tell my kids, when you meet someone, you look them right in the eye, you shake their hand, you almost rip their hand, like you squeeze.
Dominance.
You don't just do the, you don't like do the wimpy, handshake, right? So, but that changed when you started doing virtual interviewing like this, or Zoom interviewing, right? So then how do you interview the right way? Like, are you like this? Are you like this? What are you wearing? And all that's like, no one taught these people how to do that, right? Including myself. So Emily's tips are awesome on how to do that. And tone's great. My tone is terrible sometimes, right? It's like I'm speaking either too fast, or I don't have that customer service. Hi, how can I help you? Like, that's just not in my DNA.
Oh no.
Yeah, like that.
You tapped into that.
That is not, that is not me. I wish it was. I just don't have that in my DNA. But maybe we should get some coaching from Emily. But that said, I thought that if I could put sort of a playbook together in a easy to read, easy to listen to guide for these young professionals to kind of follow these certain steps, right? The step-by-step, is your resume, in good shape? Is your social media in good shape? Do you have cover letters? Do you send thank you notes? Have you researched the company that you want to actually interview with? Have you done a mock interview, or have you at least prepared yourself for the interview, or the questions that are going to come up in the interview? And I just put together this workbook, this playbook that, was well received, and turned that into a course because I thought that there was a lot of good storytelling and other things that you guys certainly helped me with in the course. And hopefully these young professionals or students that are struggling, whether they were let go or they're just having a hard time finding a job for the first time, will use this content to, help sort of propel them to their first job or a new job that's going to move them up in their career. So I wanted to give back to the younger generation with all this knowledge and information I heard back from talent leadership, talent management, or recruiters or companies that were hiring or onboarding all these students, and giving me feedback and saying, well, yeah, these are some of the challenges we're seeing when they're coming into the workforce. Or when I interview 15 people, only one sends me a thank you note. Like, so how do they communicate? Like, what are they doing? And I'm like, wow, that's weird, because I always sent a thank you message. Or back when I was going for interviews, I wrote a thank you note and had to mail it. I couldn't email it, right? So I'm like, geez, well, what about, have you ever got a video thank you note from somebody? They're like, video thank you note? No. I'm like, that's so cool to have the technology to do that. I mean, you differentiate yourself right away if you send a video. Hey, Emily, it was great to meet you. Really interested in the job role. I look forward to hearing back from you about the next steps. Have a great day. Here's my LinkedIn profile, my email, if you want to get back in touch with me. 15 seconds, send it to Emily. I guarantee the hiring manager is going to be like, wow, that's impressive. But no one does it.
Just a great example of how what you've written is evergreen, regardless of what happens in the job market. You can take it as a filter to translate across the board. And you said it's easy to read, easy to listen to. Whoever you got to do the audiobook, wow, their voice really made it easy to listen to.
Who is that? Who
I don't
did
know.
it? I wonder.
They sound really handsome and smart. It's
yeah. It also cost me college tuition payment. But no, I'm just kidding.
Hilarious.
I'm just kidding.
No. But for anybody listening, I narrated Mark's book. That's how we began our relationship. But
right.
Yeah, and that mentorship.
Yeah, let me just throw in there real quick. So I'm working as a board member with a friend of mine who's got a company called Connect, and great company. It's a platform that really connects job seekers with companies that are looking to hire, right? So think of it as an ATS with, a lot more personalization, great tool, great platform. And resumes aren't going to be in paper. The CEO says in 5 years is his prediction. And I agree, right? Resume is going to be online, right? You're going to be able to get a digital resume, which again, in theory is LinkedIn now in a way, but this platform allows you to upload your resume, builds you a profile. And then guess what? You can do a first impression video. And a first impression video is a game changer from my perspective, right? So imagine a hiring manager gets, hundreds, thousands of resumes through their ATS, their applicant tracking system. Well, guess what? The applicant tracking system has filters to filter out certain people if they don't have keywords in their resume, right? How do you get around that? Through a first impression video. So not just the thank you video, but hey, I'm Tim Heller, and here's why I want the job. I bring this to the table. The job says, you're looking for someone that has this skill set. Well, guess what? I did this in my last job. And you personalize it, and you send a 1-minute video, right? And again, Connect does that through their platform. But I would advocate, like Emily said, she didn't get all of her jobs through resumes. Like she did it through networking. She did through mentorship. Like that's how you do it. And people don't think, younger kids don't think about that this time. And it's crazy that they don't.
Can I just say, I would have totally have benefited from that back when I graduated undergrad. I submitted my resume to hundreds of jobs. It took me 6 months to find a job. And I wasn't getting any interviews from my resume because I personally think my mindset on me translating myself on a piece of paper, it just did not go well on my resume.
It's hard, right?
It's hard. And I kept saying to myself, I'm like, just put me in front of you. Just like, yes. I'm not saying I'm like fantastic and I'm going to get along with everybody, but I feel like I have a better chance I think I'm more of a speaker than a writer, even though I did my master's degree and wrote lots of papers. I personally, and also writing about yourself is a whole other skill, but I think I would have benefited so much from that. I had to like go a whole other route. I like incorporated myself to get noticed, and like that I don't recommend people do that, because it's you're gonna I learned the lessons during tax season, but it got me noticed, and that's how it happened. But I personally would have benefited so much if I was able to film a first impression video with my resume, because then I think I would have not had waited 6 whole months.
Yeah, I mean, and this was not a planned plug for Connect, but it is. I've checked out their platform too, and I'm helping with some of the marketing stuff, and it really is like kind of ridiculous how intuitive and brilliant it is. The people that I've mentioned it to are like, "What? You can do what for how much or how little money and how little time? It's crazy." So it is really cool. And Mark, one thing I want to touch on too, just to gush about you for a moment, is just that you mentioned that paying it forward and that mentorship that's so important to you. And I personally have had firsthand experience of just what an incredible mentor you are and networker you are too. And Emily, I know that you mentioned networking earlier on. And so first, Mark, I just want to say thank you for your mentorship that you've extended to me over the past year, because it really is. If anybody listening has the opportunity to be in the same sphere as Mark, he is incredibly generous and really just, when he believes in somebody, he really believes 150%. So thank you for that. And the next part of this, I would love to hear just real quick before we get a plug. Emily, I want to hear all about what you've got going on outside of TikTok and your coaching business too, is networking. How do you approach it? Because it can be such a cringy word, and it just like it makes you feel like it's like, hello, my name is Tim Heller. I'm a voice actor and entrepreneur, and I'd love to get your business. Thank you so much and have a great day. And it's it can feel so sterile and gross. But how do you each approach networking, and where do you feel like you shine and have found creative ins to really nurture a true network of people or a community of people?
Okay, well, just I want to start off by saying by no means did I start off being like a great networker. I went through the trenches of being thrown into networking events by mentors and bosses, knowing full well I was not ready. Like I was put in like sales positions, even though I didn't have a background in sales. They said, go to this event, find us some potential clients. I'm like, how? Figure it out. I'm like, okay, all
Yeah.
right, great.
Love it. Love it.
Love it now, did not love it then. But definitely a lot of my advice and approaches come from these like experiences and the lessons learned from it. So I have this thing that I call selfless networking, and it kind of goes into a bit of the like pay it forward type of deal. It's not like networking events, I find them sterile because I consider it, here's another analogy. It's like a birthday. Like you're going to bake a cake for a birthday, right? You're going to go in, you're going to bake a cake. It's going to be decorative. You're going to put the effort in because it's their birthday. Versus, are you going to bake a cake any other day of the year for them? Probably not. Like, you know what I mean? You're not going to authentically, I'm not saying birthdays aren't authentic, but I'm the type of person that holidays such as like Valentine's Day, birthdays, like are great to celebrate. But what matters to me most is when people come through during, not necessarily the best times, but also the times when you need them and show up with a cake when you need it, like when you're not feeling great. So when you show up to a networking event, it's like the birthday, you're coming, it feels a little bit like inauthentic because you baked this cake specifically, which could be your elevator pitch, specifically for this networking event. Versus selfless networking, I find you actually get the best connections outside of networking events, and I don't mean to hate on them. They're great if they're executed well and are given many opportunities for engagement and not, sets up a room and throws people in it. And then you're all the Hunger Games. You're all, on your own, which sometimes occurs, I would say. But selfless networking, the concept really comes from showing up and wanting to learn and wanting to give, and that's it.
Yeah.
And eventually, they're going to come back to you if you're consistent. They're going to want to come to learn and want to give back to you. And if they don't, you just learn who to learn and give to, right? Like this is the type of person who just took from me, which is fine. I feel like I gave my efforts. You win anyway, because by giving, for example, in a networking, like a coffee chat, for example, you offer, hey, I want to learn just more about your experience, how you got there. I really want to have the same skills as you. You seem very accomplished and within such a short period of time, and I admire that. I just want to learn. I don't necessarily want to do the same thing as you, but what would you say are like the best parts of your career path and the things that you've learned that you would want someone like me to know, that I can learn from? And then at the end of it, you just say, hey, like, is there anything I can help you with or do for you? This is something I'm doing on the side. I highly recommend people have side projects to kind of have on the back end if they want to showcase it to anyone they're doing coffee chats with. And that's it. And follow up with them, and you'll find the right time to, if there is a need to mention something. But it's like any other relationship, you're gonna come off like you want something out of someone immediately. Like it's people are not, dumb. They can tell when you're just using them.
Yeah.
And people are okay with that sometimes because they're happy to talk about themselves and happy to like feel that validation sometimes. So you want both ends to be authentic, and it starts from you. So you need to approach it authentically, and with like a selfless mindset with that. I know it's the long game, but it's the smart game.
Yeah, it's the mechanic versus the gardener again. If you can really
Exactly.
like nurture and cultivate a healthy crop of lots of different veggies and fruits and whatever else you're growing, flowers along the way, then that's what's going to pay off that time. Mark, what about you?
Yeah, I think you should clip that and just let Emily put it on her social platforms and play it, because it's great advice, right? I mean, I think networking has to be selfless, like Emily said. So, I like to help people out, right? So I'm kind of an open networker. Some people are closed networkers. Some people are just like, networking to me comes in different dimensions. It's almost like your circle of friends. You have your tightest friends that know all your secrets. Then you have sort of your next sphere of friends that are maybe your fun to, travel with friends, but you don't tell them everything. Then there's kind of that next sphere, and, kind of goes out and out. Right. And those, groups or social networks change over time, right? Whether you're in college, you're super tight, and then all of a sudden you graduate from college and now it's your work people and all that stuff. So I think networking works the same way, right? I mean, I feel that from a business sense, if you could help somebody out, whether it's helping them on a project, helping them get an answer that they can't get on their own, whether it's kind of that, get out of your comfort zone to make somebody look good or elevate one of your peers at work, that's technically networking. Like you're actually helping someone out with being that selfless, and maybe they'll come back and they'll help you someday, because there's a couple stories I can tell, and I have a few in the book, which is somebody helped someone early in their career, help that person get a promotion, made their boss look good, quote unquote. That person, boom, takes a huge promotion, goes to another job. Guess what? 18 months later, they call Tim Huddle back and say, hey, Tim, guess what? You want another job? Because I loved what you did for me at the prior company.
That's a real world example of what Mark Zides has done to 100%. Me personally. So, and it's,
but I would say, so there's that sort of work relationship, but there's also the networking. And what I'd say, and I know Emily and I could talk about this all day long. It's when you want to build a network, I think it's a combination of helping people first. Like, don't make it come across like Emily said, like, what are you doing for me? Like, hey, let me know if you ever, need a connection into any company that I do business with. If I can help, I will. But if not, like, don't make guarantees, but just be like openness, right? Whether it's your alumni network, your high school network, you got people in your sort of your social circle that you can help, right? Somehow, whether it's get a job like find someone to help them do something else. Like, it's just like anything else. Hey, do you know a mechanic? You go back to the mechanic thing. Yeah. My dad's best friend's brother is great. Like, that's how you find the mechanic. It's word of mouth. It's all trust. It's all that stuff. So, and then I would just say, when you're building a social platform, content's king, and you need to be able to tell your story and push out content, whether it's copy, like, emails, or on your website, or in your portfolio, or do what's really successful for Emily, which is video content, right? And that becomes more viral or much more easy to consume because everyone's on their phone watching stuff. They don't want to read, especially blind people like me that can't look at, 8-point font. They want to watch fun videos that are, impactful. So I think if you want to go network and you want to build your personal brand and you want to kind of, align yourself with people that you want to connect with, one way to really do it is through, building a video kind of, I'd say, platform or video vignettes, I'd call them.
Love it. Yeah, that sense of like collective abundance with networking is something that both of you touched on. That selfless networking is something I try to bring in to my own as well. And I've been in those situations where it's felt like you're the chum in the water surrounded by sharks. And people being like, hey, so what do you do? And it's like, oh, I'm a creative entrepreneur and a voice actor. And they're like, okay, cool. So you don't have money for my venture. Great. Bye. And they shut it down right away, which is like so much of what Austin is right now. There's amazing things about old Austin that are still alive and well, but that is not one of them.
Right. But what I would say, so quick piece of advice, I would say, so I guarantee when you build your business that you're looking to raise some money with, you're going to need a voice actor. You're going to need somebody that can build on-demand assets. Here's my card, or here's my LinkedIn, whatever it is. And you'll be calling me. And guess what? What you need to do is when you go home, that jerk that just kind of shut you off because you don't have a big checkbook, you can send him a sample of your work and say, hey, Tim Heller, I know I just met you for 30 seconds, but here's a couple examples, or here's a client testimonial that, will demonstrate, the impact that I can bring to your organization. Call me when you're ready.
Boom. Mark Zides at work, everybody. This one's free.
Call me when you're ready.
Call me when you're ready, baby.
The mic drop.
Yes.
I like that. I'll use that. I'm taking it.
Oh yeah. Everybody can steal that. You got a Venmo, Mark Zides, $5. Y'all, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I have two quick things before we let y'all go. One you're going to hate me for. Well, both you might hate me for. First thing I'd love to do is, we've talked about elevator pitches. I would love to hear each of your elevator pitches. Mark, about your course and anything else you have going on. Emily, about your consulting and your coaching and anything else you have going on. It has to include where people can find you and your website. Okay? Who wants to go first?
Is it 2 minutes? Is the classic 2 minutes?
It's going to be 60 seconds.
60 seconds. Okay.
So,
Mark, do you want to go first or me? Doesn't matter.
Absolutely not. I want to learn from you.
Okay, so Emily, I'm going to count you down, okay? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey guys, I'm Emily Rezkalla, aka Coach Rez on TikTok. You can find me there in content all around interview prep and career coaching, which, by the way, I do one-on-one consulting for anyone in any industry, because interviews, there's an art and a science to it, and it's the human side of things, and I'm here to help you with that. So you can find me on Instagram at Coach Rez with a period in the middle. It's almost the same as my TikTok, but I'm just here to help you find a job and get that bag. So hit me up, even in my DMs. I'm approachable. I will reply, and any questions that you might have, just reach out.
45 seconds. Well done. All right. Mark Zides, I'm going to count you in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, everybody. I'm Mark Zides. I'm a career coach helping young professionals, particularly Gen Zs, find their way to go about getting a job, preparing themselves for the workforce, and just got into social media big time over the last 12 months. Wrote a book. You can find it on Amazon. Have a TikTok channel at markzides.com. Have an Instagram, platform, markzides.pace. Have a website, www.markzides.com. have a teachable course. You can find it on my website. And really what I do is, help young professionals really prepare for their career. So everything from resume preparation to social marketing to figuring out kind of the types of companies that they want to work for and looking to coach young professionals along the way. So hit me up on any of those social platforms. Send me an email at mark@markzides.com and be willing to chat with you, DM with you about any way that I can help you find your career, get yourself focused on, the PACE process, which is prepare, apply, commit, and evaluate. And look forward to working with you. Thanks for the opportunity to tell a little bit about myself. And good luck and keep the pace.
All right. That was just over a minute, but it was so good I wanted to let you finish. That
Love
was
it.
awesome.
Yeah.
Y'all, you see how you that's 45 seconds, 60 seconds on the spot. If people take like 5 minutes to hone that in, this is just what you did off the top of your head. Like, that's the power of it. There's so much information in that. All right. The last thing I have is I've got a couple of quick fire questions. So we'll do this. I'll ask the question. Emily will answer first, then Mark. Okay. All right. Emily, what's a nickname that you had as a kid?
Oh gosh.
Can be from friends or parents.
Okay. Rezkalla.
Rezkalla. Mark?
Yeah.
Zides.
Ooh, Zides. That could be a new hashtag instead of spicy. It's like, ooh, that's Zidesy. Okay. Emily, who inspires you right now?
Oh, my siblings. My siblings inspire me. They are so creative and driven, and they just I think my mom did such a good job raising us, but particularly my siblings, they have such a good head on their shoulders, and so they inspire me.
Love it. Mark, who inspires you right now?
Yeah, I'm going to be copycat, but I'm going to say my kids, just seeing how hard they work, seeing all the, cool things they're doing. My daughter now is over in Europe, term abroad. My son's got his first job and is killing it. And my high school daughter's, doing the same, doing great in school, going to college in the fall. So really proud of them, but, seeing how hard they all work and watching them, want to aspire to great things really motivates me.
Awesome. Mark, we'll start with you. What's a piece of content you can't get enough of? It can be a book, magazine, TV show, movie, podcast, whatever you're consuming right now in the limited time that you have to consume.
Yeah, I think I like social media. I like getting my feed, getting my info from my Twitter feed, right?
Okay.
So not to plug Elon these days, but I just think I don't have enough time. I just kind of scroll and what's going on, and whether it's sports or business or social.
Yeah.
That's where I spend a lot of my time these days.
Awesome. Emily, what about you?
I do listen to quite a few podcasts. It ranges from Diary of a CEO, School of Greatness, On Purpose. Those are like the classic top 3 for me. But my guilty pleasure, it's not really that guilty. I'm totally not shameful about it. I love The Office. I will watch it on repeat.
Oh, yeah.
In my sleep, when I wake up at night. I have a, Michael Scott Prison Mike pillow. I have a bunch of stuff that I probably shouldn't have mentioned, but I should have drank my world's best boss mug. I don't have it with me.
We're gonna need a picture of the of you with your Prison Mike pillow, because I think the world needs to see that.
I sadly left him in Toronto. I need to bring him over here in Vancouver. Yeah, I should have brought him over, but he's happily hanging out at my parents' house in Toronto. So maybe I'll bring him over. We'll see.
Awesome. Last question. This is a hard hitter, so try not to think too hard about this. Okay, whatever comes top of mind first. You can only have pizza one last time, ever. Where from and what's on it? Mark, take it away.
Oof. I'd say Pizzeria Regina in Boston, and it's just plain cheese.
Ooh, all right. Just plain cheese. M?
You said not to overthink it. I'm trying not to. It's funny how I'm overthinking the pizza one out of all of that. I would say I just moved here to Vancouver a few months ago, and we actually went on a hunt for the best pizza out here because Toronto has pretty good pizza. And I just recently found one, and I really like it. I'll eat it at the beach, at Kitsilano Beach out here. It's called Reggiano's, and I get their capicola pizza, and it has like olives, capicola, prosciutto, supersada, like all of those.
That's a
Just
stacked
all of
pie.
it's a stacked pie, but it's very like Italian and just I think the way a pizza should be. Um, and of course, lots of cheese and dip. I am a dip pizza person, so garlic dip always.
Awesome. Love a pro dip pizza consumer. Y'all, thank you again. Mark Zides, Emily Rezkalla, thank you for making the time to do this. I appreciate it. Everybody can find all of their social information, their websites, courses, all of it in the episode description below. So please check them out. Mark and Emily, thank you again, and I hope that you both have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Tim.
Thank you for
good
having
seeing
us.
Emily.
Yeah.
You too, Mark.
Thank you so much for listening to the first episode of Season 2 of Second Cup. It's so wonderful to have you all back. To keep up with everything that Emily is doing, you can follow her on TikTok at CoachMRez and on Instagram at Coach.mrez. Also, at the end of this month, this episode comes out on March 6th. So in 3 weeks' time, or maybe 4, EmilyRezkalla.com is going to be live, where you can purchase all of her digital products, schedule coaching sessions, all of that. Sign up for her newsletter. So keep an eye out for that, because you will not want to miss it. I promise. To keep up with everything that Mark has going on and to schedule any kind of coachings or consultations or buy his course or his book, you can follow him at mzides and at markzides.pace on Instagram and on TikTok at markzides. To learn more about Mark and all of the different products that he has to offer, his coaching sessions, his course, his book, you can go to markzides.com. That is also linked in the episode description below. A huge, massive thank you to Alberth Bursey and Sarang Sharma from Arai Productions in New York City for all of the editing of this episode and the clips, and to my producers, Julia Shepard-Morgan and Tara Seuss, for keeping me organized and sane. We have some really exciting guests and really dope things planned for the rest of the season. So stay tuned next time for a really wonderful conversation with somebody really cool. Bye!